All right, welcome to this month's workshop offered by the University of Kentucky Office of Work, Life, and Benefits. We often offer workshops every month on topics related to work-life management and integration and harmony. We particularly like the word harmony. So our topic today is maintaining work-life harmony for self-care. We know that's something that we all strive to do. And so our speaker today is here to give us some suggestions and strategies. So welcome, Dr. Dockery. She's here with us. She works here at the university as well, and she'll do an introduction of herself. Thank you.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm thrilled to be joining you all today to talk about maintaining work-life harmony for self-care. As previously mentioned, I am Dr. Natese Dockery. I'm currently an assistant professor for mental health and well-being here at the University of Kentucky in the School of Human Environmental Sciences. My background is in clinical mental health counseling and counselor education. A lot of my work currently has focused on self-care, mindfulness, and just overall well-being in general. So I am super excited to be having this conversation with you all today. So here is today's agenda. We are going to start off with a quick grounding exercise just to get us ready to talk about self-care and work-life harmony. We are then going to take some time to talk about what self-care is and how it kind of impacts work-life harmony. And I will also provide you all with some practical strategies as well. I'm going to try and make this as interactive as possible, so please feel free to participate if you would like. So before we dive in, let's take a moment to just kind of reset, take a moment to kind of arrive into this space. It's the middle of the day. Some of us might still be shaking off the morning or gearing up for the afternoon. So let's just take a quick pause for a few gentle stretches and grounding breaths to kind of help us feel present, refreshed, and ready to engage. So we are going to begin by sitting comfortably in your chair, whatever that means for you. Maybe having your feet flat on the floor, your spine tall, and your shoulders relaxed. Kind of just let your hands rest gently in your lap. Now we're going to slowly, if you're able, reach both arms up toward the ceiling as we take a deep breath in, and slowly reach both arms toward the ceiling as you kind of take a deep breath in again, as I shared, then kind of exhale and gently lower your arms back down. We're going to do that one more time. You're going to inhale, raise your arms up, and exhale, and your arms kind of float down. Now, if you're able, gently tilt your right ear toward your right shoulder. There's no need to force anything. Just kind of let gravity stretch the side of your neck. You're going to take a breath here and slowly come back to center. And of course, we're going to do it on the other side. So you're going to drop your left ear toward your left shoulder. Really breathe into that stretch and return to center. Now we're going to quickly just roll our shoulders a little bit backwards in a slow, gentle circle, just a couple of times to kind of loosen us up. We kind of hold a lot of tension. I know I do. And then we're going to roll them forward. Next, we're going to stretch our fingers wide, then gently make a soft fist. You're going to open those fingers up again and stretch. Give your fingers a little wiggle. And you're going to slowly roll your wrists in a circle in one direction, just a couple of times. Then the other direction. To kind of close this, we're going to take in one more deep breath together. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Now you might notice that your body feels a little bit relaxed now, maybe a little bit more grounded. Just like to thank you all for taking that moment with me to kind of ground and get ourselves ready to go. If possible, maybe one or two folks can add into the chat in one word, how do you feel after that brief pause? Calm and focused, more relaxed. Love to hear that. That was the point of that one. All right, let's get going. If my screen will advance. There we go. So we always hear people talking about how we need to participate in self-care and about its importance, but what exactly is it? Self-care is the practice of engaging in activities that really promote your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Oftentimes, and especially on social media, you'll see people talking about self-care as this really indulgent and luxurious thing, such as having a glass of wine while kind of sitting in a bubble bath or overspending on very expensive experiences. Now, those things can be self-care for some of us, but it does not have to be, the super extravagant thing all the time. Self-care really benefits our mental health by reducing our stress and our anxiety and also improving our mood and our focus. It also boosts our self-esteem and our confidence. Kind of acts as a preventative measure against things such as burnout and also depression. It really increases our resilience and can really be a crucial tool for managing symptoms and supporting recovery from mental health conditions. So, as I've shared, self-care doesn't have to be this super extravagant thing. It can be as simple as ensuring you get enough water, ensuring you get enough sleep during the night, and keeping your body moving. All things that you can kind of do throughout your day. Some simple ways that you can begin really incorporating self-care into your workday can include getting up every hour and doing a lap around your building. I know it's cold outside, so maybe staying in the building. Doing a quick 5-minute breathing exercise, even if it's as quick as that thing that we just did at the beginning of this, or doing a quick check-in with your coworkers. I would love to know what are some things that you all currently do for self-care, or what are some things that you would like to start doing for self-care? Taking short walks during the day, walking outside when it's not so icy. Yeah, we got to be careful out here. Hike and would like to hike more. Hinge Health. Yeah, I keep seeing the ads for Hinge Health and I really need to take them up on that offer. Journaling. I'm going to talk a little bit about journaling later because I do a lot of journaling throughout my day. Crafting. Crafting and journaling can kind of go together as well. I have recently started junk journaling if anyone knows what that is. Cool. So it sounds like you all are already kind of participating in self-care and also thinking about some other things that you can do in the future. So we've talked a little bit about what self-care is and what it can look like in practice, but if we know that it's beneficial, why do we not do more of it? It might be due to a few misconceptions or ideas surrounding self-care. So oftentimes folks might think that partaking in self-care is selfish. The truth is it's not selfish at all. If you think about it, you can't fully help others if you don't really pour into yourself. And I know you've probably all heard this analogy before, but think about you're sitting on a plane. When they're going through the little safety precautions, they always tell you to put your mask on first. The same is true for self-care. Neglecting yourself leads to things such as burnout, irritability, poor decision making, and a long list of other things that I could probably spend another half hour talking about. So, taking care of yourself not only benefits yourself, but also those around you as well. Because when you take care of yourself, most times you're in a better headspace when it comes to your relationships, your work, and other aspects of your life. Kind of talked about this earlier. Self-care is not necessarily luxury, it's kind of a necessity. So a lot of times people think about, expensive spa days, bubble baths, bottles of wine, all of those different things. It doesn't have to be that because self-care is a necessity. And if you don't have access to those things, or, this week it's a little tough, so I'm not going to be able to have that spa day, that's fine. You just need to kind of focus on things that are going to help you maintain your mental health and your overall well-being. It's not something that you kind of do every once in a while, every quarter. Um, Here's another analogy for you all to kind of think about. Thinking about our cars, for those of us who have cars. Most people aren't going to wait to, do an oil change once their car breaks down, right? So why would you kind of wait until you're on your final straw to actually take care of yourself? I know that's easier said than done, but in a few minutes, we'll kind of dive in a little bit deeper into things that we can do that are not so time consuming or also not expensive. Self-care is not always time consuming. Sure, there are some things that you may want to do or that you kind of do, but self-care does not have to be time consuming. Like I mentioned earlier, it can be as small as making sure you drink enough water during the day or getting enough sleep at night. It doesn't have to be this long, drawn out marathon of activities. And lastly, I don't want you all to leave here today and think that self-care has to become yet another thing on your to-do list that causes you stress. And it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, some days it might look a little bit messy, or it might definitely, not look the same from day to day or from person to person. I am curious. I know I'm asking you all a lot of questions. I'm curious, what is one misconception that you have about self-care or one that you might have held in the past? It's self-centered. It's a form of indulgence. Yeah, the indulgence one and being self-centered are definitely two of those main things that people think about. They're like, well, if I'm spending time taking care of myself, I'm not able to attend to work or I'm not able to attend to my kids. Um, I don't have time. Other things take higher priority. I could see that being something too. However, we ourselves are also our priority. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. Another thing to try to remember to do. Yeah, a lot of times these things could feel like it's just another thing to kind of put on a to-do list and forget about, but we're going to think about some practical tools here in just a moment. Thank you all for participating. I definitely appreciate it. All right. So I'm sure you all have heard of the term work-life balance. Many of us probably have not been able to find that actual balance, whatever that looks like, because that term work-life balance can almost feel like a trap in a way, because it kind of implies there's this 50-50 split. But if we really think about it, we're never truly able to balance the work and the life and all the other things really equally. And this is why using the term harmony feels a lot better. Um, it's being able to kind of blend those different aspects of your life to make it work for you. So it's definitely a personal pursuit. And I'm not asking you all to bring work home or to bring home to work, but I am saying that those two things definitely influence one another. So think about it. If you're burnt out at home or at work, you're not magically going to feel rested once you get home or once you walk into work. And when things are great at home, that energy really fuels you when it comes to things such as your professional productivity. Harmony is more so about managing the flow between the two rather than trying to pretend that they don't impact one another. If you think about it, your priorities are always shifting as well. There might be a week where work demands 90% of your focus, and there will be weeks where maybe your personal life needs that 90%. Harmony isn't about providing equal time over the course of a month or a season. It's more so about going with those ebbs and flows of life and kind of being a little bit more flexible. Like I've already shared, harmony is definitely a personal pursuit. There is no standard version of what work-life harmony is going to look like. For example, one person, harmony might look like, leaving the office at 4 p.m. every day. And for another one, it might look like working really long hours and taking off every Friday if they're possible, if they're able to do that. So what feels like harmony to one person might look like some chaos to someone else. And that's okay. You really have to define the rhythm that works for you and your specific life. And one last thing with a lot of these things and with a lot of things in life in general, there's not a perfect formula for work-life harmony. If you're looking for really a secret equation to kind of solving your schedule, you won't find it. At least I don't have the answer. And if you do find it, please let me know. I would love to know. Harmony is more so a practice of constant adjustment, like I've kind of shared earlier. If you think about a musician who plays, for example, a stringed instrument, I'm saying that because I've played the violin in the past. If you know anything, when you tune your instrument, you kind of have to do that every time before you play because the instrument goes through weathering and things get out of tune. So think about your work-life harmony in that same way. You're going to have to kind of adjust here and there or every day, depending on how your life is. It's more so about the process and not the destination per se. All right. Thinking about these four things I have on the screen, energy, focus, boundaries, and well-being, Which area could use a little more attention for you right now? And you can either use the chat or unmute, whichever one you're comfortable with. Energy. Focus. Focus is a big one, especially for myself. Focus and well-being. Boundaries. That is another big one. Boundaries are, I won't say hard, they are definitely complex. I do a lot of work with boundaries and sharing how folks can really enhance their life and their well-being when it comes to boundaries. Well-being. Okay, cool. It sounds like throughout all of these, for everyone can probably focus on them a little bit more and help maintain their lives a little bit through those. So, first, thinking about energy, we often talk about managing our time, but the truth is, you can have all the time in the world and still get nothing done if your battery is at 2%. I know for me, that rings true a lot. And thanks to those snow days, I was able to kind of really slow down, get a little bit more rest, and actually rethink about what I needed to do and kind of come up with a really good plan. One for self-care, but also with, professional things. Self-care is what really supports the physical and mental stamina you need to actually get through that long to-do list that you might have and still have some time left over to really enjoy your personal life at the end of the day. It's the difference between just surviving the day and actually showing up for yourself, your family, your friends, your job, all of those different things. Thinking about focus, we've all had those moments when we're kind of just staring at the screen for an hour, but not actually processing anything. And this is something else that rings true for myself. That's why I had that little giggle. Self-care actually acts as a reset button for your brain, for lack of better words. It really helps you keep your attention and your clarity, which makes you a lot more productive as time goes on. So when you take those small breaks to really care for your mind and your body, you're able to work a little bit sharper and not just longer. Thinking about boundaries, this is a big one. We're going to think of boundaries as the framework to really protect your harmony. Self-care is what actually gives you that energy and clarity to maintain those boundaries. So it's about being able to say yes to what truly matters and a confident no to things that are just going to drain you without adding any value to your life. So when you're feeling good, setting boundaries feels a lot better and like a healthier choice. But when you're running down, running low, running on empty, that no feels like a massive battle. So self-care really makes it easier to protect your space and your time. And finally, you have your well-being. This is really the big picture. It's your health, your resilience, and your overall emotional balance. So when we prioritize self-care, we're really building up a reserve so that when life gets messy or when work gets kind of stressful, we don't just crumble and completely give up. It kind of allows you to stay grounded and bounce back, even when things are out of harmony for a little bit. So this is really more of a preventative measure and not a reactive measure. And that's why self-care is so important. All right. So even when we know that self-care is important, our brains are very good at talking us out of it. I want to kind of highlight a few common traps that we all might fall into because identifying these thoughts is the first step toward kind of changing them. So, how many of you are guilty of saying things or thinking things such as something like, I'll rest after this project ends, or I don't know, I'll take a break once the week is over and kind of when things settle down. I'm gonna go ahead and raise my own hand. I know y'all have your cameras off, but I'll raise my hand for the collective voice because I feel like we've all done it once or twice in our lives. The truth is, the nature of most of our work means that things rarely slow down on their own. If we wait for that perfect gap in our schedule, we're gonna probably be waiting forever. And self-care isn't for when life is just easy. It's kind of that tool, like I've said, that helps you get through when life is really hard and really taking us through it. We touched on this earlier, but I definitely think it's worth repeating because the guilt is a major pitfall. We often feel like time spent on ourselves is time stolen from our work or time stolen from our families. But I need you to remember that neglect is not a strategy that we need to be using. If you don't take the time to really recharge, you're eventually going to give the people around you a depleted, frustrated version of yourself. So true unselfishness is making sure you have the capacity to actually show up for yourself and for others. Then you have the all or nothing thinking. We think if we can't do, let's say, a 60-minute yoga flow or a full hour of meditation, that it's just not worth doing it at all. So we end up not doing anything at all with our time. We kind of, have to break that all or nothing thinking or that all or nothing cycle. If you think about it, even just 5 minutes of stretching is indefinitely better than doing no minutes of stretching, or a quick 3-minute walk is better than sitting for 8 hours straight. Definitely good for, your body and also your mind. So don't let the perfect version of self-care stop you from doing the good enough version. And I think the biggest pitfall is using self-care as like an emergency room rather than a daily maintenance. So if we only look after ourselves once we've really hit a wall or reached total burnout, we're kind of going to end up playing this permanent game of catch up. So like I said earlier, the goal is to really integrate these small habits now so that we never hit that wall in the first place. We want to be really proactive and not reactive. So we've talked a little bit about identifying the traps. Now let's talk about the fun stuff, the actual strategies to stay out of falling into those traps. These aren't meant to be big, sweeping lifestyle changes. They are more intentional, small shifts in how you kind of approach your day-to-day life. First, micro self-care. This is really the antidote to that all or nothing thinking that we just talked about. It's really a bite-sized moment of care, if you will, like taking 3 deep breaths before a stressful meeting. For me, this starts at the moment I kind of wake up. I already have like a little self-care routine that I go through during the day. I make it a point to really meditate at the beginning of the day. It really gives me a clean slate before the emails and the notifications and all the noise of the world, before all of that rolls in. And it's really been if it's been a particularly rough day, I'll also do some meditation at night just to kind of help my brain shift from, all right, we're done with the chaos of work, and now it's time to really get into rest mode and get ready for the next day. Energy awareness is really about becoming a student of your own battery, really noticing what kind of drains you and what also fuels you. We're really good at pointing out the bad stuff. We're really good at pointing out, this relationship is draining, work is draining. But if you kind of focus on the things that give you energy, you'll be a lot better off and able to really pour into yourself. So I actually use my daily journaling practice to track things like this. So I journal at the beginning of the day after I do my meditation to really set my intentions and to also check in on how I'm feeling, how my night went, did I have any nightmares or anything like that. And then I also do it again at the end of the day to really reflect on what went well in the day, what didn't go well, and just kind of an overall brain dump of the day. This kind of helps me notice any patterns. So maybe I notice that I'm consistently exhausted on Tuesdays. I can kind of look back at my journal, look back at my schedule, and really figure out why and then adjust my schedule accordingly. This third strategy can be a little bit tough, letting go of guilt. We have to actively remind ourselves that rest is productive. If you feel guilty while you're trying to relax, you aren't actually relaxing or recharging. I constantly have to remind myself that my morning meditation and my journaling are not these extra tasks that I'm just squeezing in. It really doesn't take that long, and I have to constantly remind myself, like, yes, I have this long to-do list, but I also have these things that are really helping me take care of myself. So I can spare 5 to 10 minutes for a to-do list that can be touched on later. Um, these things really give yourself permission to show up for not only yourself, but also others. So the first step to self-care is really admitting that you need that self-care, and that it is an important process in life. Finally, I recommend daily check-ins. This is a simple 30-second audit. asking yourself, how am I actually doing right now? Because I know a lot of times people might ask, oh, how's your day going? How are you doing? And we just go to the default. Oh, I'm good. I'm fine. Things are fine. But in reality, a lot of the times, or some of the times, they're not. So really taking that time to ask yourself, how am I actually doing? What do I actually need in this moment? So by having those kind of bookend habits, in the morning or in the evening, you're able to really build in some check-in and check in on yourself. It's really about staying connected to your own needs so that making those small adjustments towards self-care are a little bit easier and you don't ultimately hit a wall because you're kind of constantly checking in on yourself. I've already shared that some of the things that I do are journaling and meditation, but yours might be a morning walk with a podcast or a cup of tea and a book. The specific activity is not as important as just kind of consistently checking in with yourself. All right. So while journaling and meditation might provide me with some good, things to do for my day, there's also some strategies that you need to take on for those in between work hours. Those are professional self-care. So this is about how we structure our work environment to really keep the harmony intact while we're kind of on the clock. First, we have to look at boundaries and expectations. It sounds like boundaries is something that a lot of us tend to struggle with, which I too do. It's not always the easiest, but this is about being clear both with yourself, but also your team, about what you will and won't do and what's kind of realistic for you in that moment. It's like I shared earlier, it's the energy and clarity to kind of say yes to the right priorities and a confident no to those things that you know will drain you without adding any type of value to your life or your professional life. So when we set those clear expectations around our availability, we stop being reactive and start being more intentional. I know for me as a sidebar, I've gotten a lot better at saying no, because I've found that if I don't, people are just going to add me to all kinds of meetings that I don't even necessarily need to be in, that end up being a big time suck for me that I could have been using somewhere else in life. Next is communication. This kind of ties into what I was just saying. Professional self-care isn't a solo sport. It really requires us talking to those around us. So this might mean letting a colleague know, hey, I'm heading into a deep work session. I'm going to close my door. Come back in an hour if you want to talk, but I can't do that right now. Or being honest with someone like your manager, letting them know, my plate is a little bit full right now. I don't really know if I can take on anything else at this moment. That open communication really prevents the waiting until burnout pitfall, because it allows you to really address stressors before they become these big, chaotic emergencies. And I would say one of the biggest challenges to harmony is the bleed between our roles. So we really need intentional transitions between work and home. And for me, it's that meditating at the beginning of the day to really create a transition into work, and then meditating again at night and journaling to kind of help me transition back out of that work mode. So whether it's a specific playlist that you use on your commute or physically closing your office door, these rituals or these routines really signal to your brain that, hey, it's time to switch gears. It's time to go from work mode to home mode. And it's just a good cue for you. Finally, and maybe most importantly, it's to remember to use your available supports. We often fall into this trap of thinking that we have to do everything ourselves, and I also fall into this trap a lot. Whether it's, using a project management tool, or getting the help of a mentor to kind of lean on for advice. These supports are part of your professional well-being because if you think about it, you don't live in a vacuum, and so your harmony also should not live in a vacuum. So we all have one area that's a bit harder to manage than others. I'm wondering for you all, which of these feels like the biggest challenge to stay on top of right now? I know for me, it really depends on the week, but I would say boundaries and transitions between work and home are a little bit tougher for me, especially depending on the week. Hmm. Delegating and asking for help, boundaries, yep. Boundaries, boundaries. Sounds like I need to come back and do a boundaries talk one of these days. Transitions and using support boundaries. Yeah, yeah. Boundaries is a definitely a big one. Okay, let's go to the next one. So we have covered a lot today so far, from debunking myths to looking at professional boundaries. But the biggest question usually is, okay, I know all of this stuff now. How do I actually keep this going when I exit this Zoom meeting? The key to sustainability isn't a massive life overhaul. It's more so about how do we approach the process itself. I want you to first remember that small changes matter. We often overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can do with just a small, consistent habit. So, like I've shared earlier, you don't need to start with a 30-minute meditation. It might be, a 1 minute meditation. For me, my morning and evening journal bookends didn't happen overnight. I screw up when it comes to meditation all the time. I had a 250-day streak that I was extremely proud of, and one day I fell off the wagon and screwed that all up. But I'm happy to share that I've rebuilt that routine, and I'm not at 250 days yet, obviously, but I am consistently meditating again. So if you start with small, micro doses of those things, it really builds up and can really help you. It's also good to give yourself permission to adjust as life changes. If you think about it, life is constantly changing. Some months are going to be high intensity for work, and your self-care might shift to just, things like basic hydration and deep breathing. Other months might feel like you have a little bit more time for that self-care and that really deep restoration. I've learned that meditation that I do at night is really dependent on the day. Some days I don't do nighttime meditation. I always do morning meditation, nighttime not so much based on how my day went. If a routine starts to feel like a burden to you, it's really okay to pivot, adjust, and do what kind of works for you. The goal is that we kind of take care of ourselves and not focus on specific habits. Finally, and probably most importantly, at least in my eyes, remember that it is progress over perfection. There will always be days where you might forget to check in with yourself, and that's okay. There'll probably be weeks where your boundaries get a little bit blurred. Just take note of that and work on it for the next time. It's not a failure. It's really just life. Harmony isn't about never failing or never falling out of tune. It's more so about how quickly you can kind of notice and gently bring yourself back. So don't let that one off day talk you into quitting the entire practice of self-care. I am a big believer in the power of the small win. So I want to invite you to do just a quick little audit of your own routine using these 3 prompts. And you don't have to write it in the chat if you don't want to, but just simply reflect for a little bit. What is one thing that you want to continue? This could be something that you're already doing that works for you, and you can really acknowledge that win. For me, as I've shared, it's my morning journaling. It's my non-negotiable for kind of staying grounded, and I know that I need that to kind of keep protecting my space. Then you're going to think about what is one thing that you can adjust. This isn't about fixing a failure, but it's more so a small pivot to make a habit work a little bit better for you. So right now I'm adjusting my nighttime meditation. Like I shared, I'm not as consistent with that as I am my morning one, but I've realized that on those high intensity days, for example, I need to do a much earlier evening meditation so that I'm actually present for that meditation instead of kind of nodding off and falling asleep before the meditation's over. Unless, of course, it's a sleep meditation, then that's a different case. And finally, I want you to think about what is one thing that you can let go. This could be a specific task. It could be a bit of that all or nothing guilt or the pressure to be perfect. I want you to identify what you're stopping, and it kind of is more important to note what you're stopping than what you're starting. So let it go so you can actually have that breathing room to find your harmony. Looks like Andrea is going to continue hiking. adjust boundaries, and let go of procrastination. That's a big one. I too can procrastinate from here and there. So that's definitely something I'm hoping to let go of too in the past or in the future. Jasmine's going to continue journaling, going to adjust, doing that consistently, and letting go of the all or nothing thinking. These are good. Sounds like you all are kind of coming up with a good plan, and that is always good to hear. All right, so as I close out, I want to kind of leave you with these three core truths. If you don't remember anything else that I've said or any other strategy that we've discussed, I hope that you'll at least take these three things with you. Self-care is personal. There is no one size fits all approach. So my morning and my evening journaling and meditation work for me because they kind of fit my rhythm, but your version might look completely different from mine, and that's okay. Don't try to compare your routine to anyone else's. The only right way to do self-care is the way that actually makes you feel restored and that actually works for you. Work-life harmony is flexible. It's not a static 50-50 balance that you kind of achieve and then keep forever. It's more so a constant adjustment. Ooh. Some weeks the work slider might be up, and some weeks the life slider will be up. It's really about the week and how it's going, but harmony is really about giving yourself grace to really shift those priorities as your life and work change without feeling like you failed at life. And finally, and maybe most importantly, small steps do add up. You don't need a week off or a total lifestyle overhaul to start feeling better. Harmony is built in these micro moments like the 1 minute reset or the clear boundary on one email or three deep breaths before a meeting. Those small, consistent wins are what kind of create a sustainable life in the long run. My final question, in one word, how would you like your work-life harmony to feel after today? Lighter. That's a good word. Peace or peaceful. That's another good one. Less stress, encouraging, conscious. These are all good. Little fun fact, my daily journaling practice that I put this morning, I actually wrote that I will have a peaceful yet productive day. So that piece really struck a nerve with me. Yeah. All good stuff. So thank you all so much for your time and your engagement today. I truly appreciate it. I hate nothing more than, staring at a screen and talking to folks that aren't participating. It makes things go by a lot slower, in my opinion. So I hope you leave here today with at least one small, step toward your own harmony. That's all I got. I'm gonna mute myself and let us wrap this up.